As the political fallout surrounding Jeffrey Epstein continues, the Justice Department is facing its own legal obstacles over this case. As we mentioned, a federal judge in Florida denied one of the government's bids to unseal grand jury transcripts from the state's investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. And in a separate ruling, a federal judge in New York denied a request by Ghislaine Maxwell, his former co-conspirator, to gain access to grand jury transcripts related to her case. She's currently serving 20 years in prison. This all comes as President Trump tries to find an off-ramp from the scandal that has engulfed his base and left many of his most loyal supporters demanding more transparency. Joining me now, Catherine Christian, former assistant district attorney at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. She is an MSNBC legal analyst, and our nightcap is still here. Catherine, it is good to see you again. Can you tell me, you and I talked about this a few days ago, that the release of grand jury testimony was always going to be a non-starter. Turns out that that's what the Justice Department, who also knew this fact, is learning.
Yes, the grand jury secrecy rule, it's a sacred rule in federal rules of criminal procedure, in state rules of criminal procedure. It's to protect witnesses, it's to protect the investigation. And A.G. Bondi is a longtime prosecutor. She knows that rule, and they all know, all the prosecutors know, that the court will most likely not. I'm talking now New York. Florida already said New York no, and New York will probably say no. Public interest, pundits wanting to see it, politicians wanting to see it, is not a special and exceptional circumstance to violate the grand jury secrecy rule.
I have to ask you about, I'm kind of surprised that this $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal continues to stand. They've been given until September 22nd to respond. But if Donald Trump pursues this lawsuit, he can't claim that he's either too busy or protected against, being deposed or coming forward with evidence. I got to imagine he wants a way out of this thing, because if he has to fight this case against the Wall Street Journal, he's going to have to say some stuff.
Exactly. I think that President Trump was on a roll. ABC, CBS settled, some law firms settled, today Columbia University settled, and I think he thought that the Wall Street Journal, that Rupert Murdoch will also do the same. The fact that the Wall Street Journal today put out another article that has upset the president means, I think, that they're not going to settle. So unless the president wants to be deposed and keep the Epstein story alive, he probably will withdraw the suit. I don't think Rupert Murdoch is going to settle.
Evan, let me ask you about this, because we were talking about whether these are miscalculations or not. Rupert Murdoch's a very rich guy who does not depend on the federal government for a license. I'm not seeing that he's going to take this as a nuisance lawsuit and try and settle it.
I mean, the way you look at this, if you're a reporter, right, is the Wall Street Journal got in a ton of trouble from Democrats at the end of the Biden administration because they ran a story about how Biden was old and missing a step, right? And now they're in trouble with the Republican administration because they ran a story about what was in some documents the president doesn't want to be published. This is what the Wall Street Journal does. This is what Rupert Murdoch owns the paper to do. So I don't think that it's the same kind of conversation here. This is a real serious media organization that is used to this kind of thing, and that this is sort of why they're so popular, because they do stories like this and they stand by them, right?
But Molly, the Wall Street Journal has been at Trump's heels, since the beginning of this administration. They are super critical, mostly on economic stuff, mostly on these tariffs, which we're going to discuss a little later. So they're not entirely out of lockstep with where they've been. It's been annoying Donald Trump since the beginning of this second administration.
So I think what's important about this story is that Rupert Murdoch is actually treating the First Amendment the way it's supposed to be treated, right? That you are a journalistic enterprise, you are here to report journalism. And I think look, Rupert Murdoch owns the New York Post, he owns Fox News. My man is not a liberal by any stretch of the imagination. And quite frankly, he is more than happy to put his finger on the scale. I mean, if you read the New York Post, you know who he likes, who he doesn't like, and you watch Fox News. But I think what's important about this story is that there are two other news organizations that have bowed to Donald Trump, because they made the calculation that it was easier just to settle and clean things up in a way that they liked, go along to get along, and that's ABC and CBS. And so what's happened now is we have a culture where people bend to power. And so the fact that Rupert Murdoch is not bending to power all of a sudden is a big deal. And I think it shows what a bad moment we're in right now.
It's also, I actually think, if I were Rupert Murdoch, I'd love this lawsuit. Because all this does, I mean, for one, everybody's talking about the Wall Street Journal, right? And there is that, people often think, oh, there's a complete overlap between the Wall Street Journal readers and Fox News. There's not.
No.
There's a huge amount of people in the read the Wall Street Journal for a lot of substantive reasons and a lot of business reasons and a lot of reporting reasons. And he is getting the name of the Wall Street Journal out there every single day. And I think Trump doesn't seem to understand. Now they're set the deadline to respond to Donald Trump's lawsuit. The Wall Street Journal has to respond to the lawsuit by September, I guess. Well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to just dump a load of new stuff on him with all the substantive information. Here's our response. And it's going to be another series of 7 days of stories. So I think, let alone he's not going to settle, in my view, in this, that Rupert Murdoch won't settle. I think he's loving this.